Hey guys, I'm Brian, and this is Just a Few Printers Fun. Today I'm working on my friend's Creality HI printer. He's been getting an occasional Z-axis error. So today I'm going to be working on cleaning, testing, and doing some well-needed maintenance. This is my first video, so please bear with me. Also, this is the first time using this camera, and some of the audio did not turn out all that well, so please bear with me while I do some voiceover work. I'm going to speed up this part right here where it's booting up. It takes these a little bit to get started and get up to the screen, so I'm kind of fast forwarding this a little bit. I always like to start out anytime that I'm working on a printer by doing a complete factory reset. This eliminates any kind of like firmware, software issues or something like that, and if there's any if the storage is full or something of that nature. So anyway, that's what I'm in the process of doing right here. We're going to fast forward through the beginning stages of a factory reset while it goes through all of its calibrations and checks and stuff. I've added some wonderful music in the background as well too, so I hope you enjoy the elevator music. This Creality HI, this is my friend. He owns a company called Blind Dreams 3D Printing. He does RC car bodies and stuff of that nature. And anyway, he had been having some problems with this one. And I believe this thing has a ton of hours on it. And it's one of his first printers that he ever put into production. So I know that it has been used quite heavily. So hopefully whatever we find today will not be all that bad, but we'll find out. Sit here and watch its tool head do its little dance on the build plate. Once it gets done, the full calibration was successful. There was no errors. So we're going to start the cleaning process by removing the tool head cover, which I noticed it was missing a screw. The tool heads are very important to keep clean, especially all of the fans. And you also need to, of course, check all of the cables and stuff occasionally. And we're going to be doing some lubrication and cleaning as well once we get done taking care of the tool head. As you can notice from this part right here, this fan on this side looks bad, really dirty. And also the silicone sock is torn. So we're probably going to have to address that as well too. All of the wires look fine. It's on the tool head. Yep, you can see right there that the silicone sock's ripped. So what I like to do when I start out with cleaning some of these fans, especially as dirty as this one is that you can tell, the left-hand side, of course, is way dirtier than this side. But I like to use a soft bristled nylon brush to brush out the fan blades. In a perfect world, I would take these fans off and crack open the case to be able to get on the inside of them. What I have found in my experience is if you attempt to take these things apart and you go to pry those clips, because these things sit next to heat all of the time, the plastic cooks and it becomes brittle. And so then you end up breaking tabs off, and then you've got a whole different situation to deal with than just cleaning out the fan blades. I will note, it's not in the video, but I did end up blowing these fans out after the fact once I got them clean, or well, brushed off and clean as possible before I blew them out. This fan right here had some chunks, air quote, come out of it. the tool head fan itself, or excuse me, the hot end fan, it wasn't too terrible, and you can't see it in the video, but the heat sink behind it wasn't too bad. When I ended up blowing it out after the fact, like some other stuff came out, but everything spun right fine. All of the fans blades turned like they were supposed to. You can see some of the stuff that I've already gotten out of it. When we move over to the left-hand side, this one was a little bit surprising. I was not expecting the amount of stuff that came out, and like one big chunk came flying out. Yeah, right there. So this one was well in need of being brushed out and cleaned. Once I get through brushing these out and they appear to be as clean as I can get them, I do manually turn on the model fan just to make sure that, the fan blades are still spinning. They turn on like they're supposed to. And we'll see that happen here in just a second. And there it goes. I look on the right hand side and I can see from the left hand side that both fans are turning like they're supposed to. I raise it up and put my hand up underneath it, and I can feel that air's blowing out like it's supposed to. I check the tips to make sure that no chunks of dust are stuck in the holes. So now we're going to wrestle with the hot end sock. This thing was cooked. I had to wrestle with it. I've sped this video up here as well because this thing was a pain. It essentially came off in pieces. And if these aren't replaced occasionally, this is what happens. They get crispy and cooked and stuff. I know it's silicone and it's supposed to stay malleable and stuff, but this one was cooked. Took me forever to finally get a hold of it and be able to get it off. At that point, I finally got the last piece of it off. And you can't see it in the picture, but I'm checking to make sure that the hot end is secure and not loose or anything. And I'll show you here in just a minute. Yep, here we go. This is all the crud that come off. So now what I've done is I've heated up the hot end to about 120 degrees Celsius. I find that makes it a little bit easier to put the new silicone sock on. You do need to be careful, of course. You don't want to burn your hands. You got to be mindful of the temperature and the nozzle. That's why I'm using both my hands to push up on it. And you can see here, new silicone sock is on. And we got that on and it's good to go. So I've turned off the temp for the hot end, set it to 0 so we can start cooling off. And now it's time to lubricate the rods and the linear rail. I use Super Lube and these are cheap disposable utility brushes. You can get bags of them off AliExpress. And once they get nasty or something like that, you can just chunk them, and maybe in the whole scheme, a whole bag costs like a couple of bucks. Anyway, what I do is I'll take a brush that's clean and new, and I'll squeeze a little bit of the Super Lube out. And you don't want a lot. You just want a little bit on the bristle and the brushes and stuff. And then you just want to gently brush it on to the linear rails. And again, you're not trying to cake it up or glob it on. you're literally just wanting a skim coat. And once you do like the right side, then you just move the tool head, and then you do the left side. And again, you're just skim coating it. When you're doing this, you may end up getting some on the gantry. You can just take a rag and just wipe off if you get any on there and take care of that. Now at this point, doing the other side is a little more difficult, but not horrible. You can't see it in the picture, but of course on the right-hand side of the high, there's a box where a lot of the wiring and stuff comes in on the right-hand side, and the linear rail is kind of behind it. You can still get to it with a brush. You just have to be mindful of what you're doing. I move on from this because I didn't end up showing or filming the back of it. But here, the way that I do the rails or rods, excuse me, on this is, again, it's the same concept. You take a clean rag, wipe them off, and then you brush on just a skim coat on the rods. If you get any excess on the machine, just wipe those off. It's not really going to hurt anything, but I like to keep it clean. And you essentially just do the same thing on the other side, and then you slide the bed forward and get to the back part of the rails that you can't get to. So here we've skipped ahead to do the Z-rods. You have to take the top gantry off. If you bought one of these printers new, you know how to put them on. It's just reverse. Pop the two little covers off, take a couple of screws out. I think there's 6 screws total, 3 on each side. Unplug the cables and stuff, and it lifts right off. So essentially what we're going to do here is each one of those motors has 4 screws. 2 of them are silver, 2 of them are black with hex heads. The Phillips screws you want to leave alone. You want to use the black Allen head or hex head screws. You take those 2 out. You want to make sure that the gantry is propped up, which I'll show you in just a minute here. I use something that I was printing, a riser for my SV08 that I'm about to put together and get up on the bench, but I got to get this one off the bench first. And here I'm pointing out that I was wrong about the screws because I pointed out the Phillips blades to begin with, but it's the black one with the hex heads. When you have it propped up and you've got all the screws out, you literally just slide the motors and stuff. I'm going to readjust the camera so you can see the rods when I pull it out, and the whole tool head and everything slides out together. You just want to be careful because you don't want to pull it out too far, because there's nothing locking those Z-rods in to the linear rail. They're just open caps, and so you can technically unscrew them all the way. This is me trying to adjust the camera. So you see they just easily pull out. You can already see the black. I don't think Creality uses a whole lot of lubricant on these from the factory. And so these Z-rods get dirty, and you can't access them easily either. And this is kind of a pain to do this, but it's just part of the maintenance cycle. It's something that needs to be done occasionally. Again, it's not ideal the way you have to access these, but I'm wiping this one down just to kind of see how gross it is. And again, it's not too terribly bad. There's no filament stuck to them. I have seen some that get filament strands stuck. Here I'm marking where you don't want to pull the gantry down, or the tool head and the linear rail down pretty much past that. Here in just a moment, I'm going to use my finger to kind of use this like kind of a stop. So when I pull the rods down the rest of the way, my finger kind of stops the tool head rail and stuff from going too far. Because again, you don't want to pull this out because it's a pain to get all of it back in. Here I'm moving my support down that I've got it lifted up on. Hindsight always being 2020. I should have used a bigger table for this so I could have supported the motors and the rods along with not just the gantry. The next time I have to do one of these, which I don't use any of these highs. I moved away from bed slingers a while back. So I typically don't have to take gantries apart to be able to get to the Z screws and stuff. You can see that there was quite a bit of nastiness that come off some of the rods, for both the rods. So what I'm doing now is I'm grabbing another brush. This is one of these disposable ones. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that brush to brush out the threads on these Z rods. This is just to get rid of some of that black that's in the middle or in between or on threads and whatnot. And so I just brush them top and bottom. I'm not doing a dental work here or exact science. It's just enough to get any of the bigger stuff out. And like once I do one, then I'll take and I'll wipe the brush off to get any of the junk off of it. And you'll be surprised how much that stuff comes off. Give it another wipe down. And then I move on to the next one. And it's just rinse and repeat for the other side as well too. And putting these back together again it's a reverse process. You're just gonna slide the Z rods back in, and of course it pushes the tool head, linear rod, and everything back up to the top of the gantry. Now once I get these brushed off, I have a neat little tool that I found. I don't remember if it was on printables or what, but it's kind of like a syringe, and it's made for doing these rods. You can't see it from the video, but it's got any cubic stamped on it. I use it on all my printers. It makes lubricating these rods so much easier, and it doesn't like glob it on and stuff, and it gets it down inside the threads. Yeah, here we go. And I just essentially squirt some of the lube into the back of it, and it's like I say, it's like a syringe. And then you can just rub it on and push it on it gently. And then like once you get some on there, you can just take it to rub on it back and forth and get it all smoothed out and spread. And then here we go, just pushing it back into place and making sure that they're up as far as you can get them. And then we just start putting the screws back in. And since there's only 2 screws on this, it's not that bad. I want to speed this up so you don't have to watch me fumbling with a screwdriver to get this put back together. And you want to make sure that both sides are flush and it's not off. You want to make sure it's level with the gantry and smooth across when you rub your finger across it. All right, so we've got the gantry back on. Again, if you've put one of these machines together, you know how it goes back on. There's plenty of videos out there for that as well too. I started looking at the bed and I pulled the build plate off. And as you can tell from the magnetic sheet, it was dirty. There was little bits of filament stuff had like melted onto the magnetic sheet, and it was the same on the bottom of the build plate as well. So I took a plastic razor blade, cleaned up, and scraped off both of them. The build plate itself, I washed with Dawn Power Wash. That stuff is great at cleaning these off. So hot water, Dawn Power Wash, scrub it good on both sides, let it air dry. And then after it's dried off and stuff, and I put the build plate back on, you wipe it down with 91% IPA and isopropyl alcohol, for those that don't know, and then let that dry. I did flip this build plate over to keep the bottom side up. The top side of the plate was in pretty rough shape. It had a lot of deep scratches and stuff like that. This one still has some marks on it, but it was way better than the other side. So I want to do a test print since we've got this all back together, cleaned, lubricated, and stuff. And so it's like, okay, let's do some test prints. The built-in models, because I didn't have this one hooked up to my computer or my account or whatever to be able to send a test print to us, I just wanted to make sure that it was going to print. This is a short, like 24-minute print. I've got some Hyper PLA that I got a load in it. Mind you, this filament had been setting out, hadn't been on a dry box or anything. So I got the filament loaded and going to go ahead and start that print after I go in and I look at the about for the printer. And I'm evidently blind because I was looking for the total time. But anyway, 3,334 hours is how long this printer has been in service and been printing. And it still prints. It still prints great. These are tough little printers. They do require maintenance. Things do break. But I'm doing a PID calibration now for the hot end since we monkeyed with it and everything. It finished fine. Calibration completed. And so after it does its print, here's what came out for the little test. I also printed a poop tray that was a built-in print. It turned out pretty good for old filament. Print quality was decent. I couldn't complain. And so here I decided, I was like, okay, let's do one more print. And there's a nozzle cover that's PLA that's built in, which I don't know why they would have done a nozzle cover in PLA. I would have done PETG or ABS to print this. But anyway, 3.5 hours. I was like, cool, I got enough filament to do this. And we kicked it off. So you're probably looking at this and going, huh, that doesn't look like the same print head or tool head cover. Well, it's not. I don't know what was going on with that built-in print job, and it could be due to firmware updates and other things, or maybe it was the build plate, but it kept having one tree support that kept failing, which of course caused layer shifts and all kinds of stuff with it. I printed it like 3 times and it kept failing in the exact same spot with the tree support just falling over. So anyway, I found this one on Creality Cloud and was like, hey, I'll give that one a shot and see how that turns out. It came out clean. It was really nice. I used Creality Print to print this off my computer. I added the machine in, connected to it and everything. The supports came off easy for the smaller pieces. Everything turned out clean. First layer looked really good. Everything was smooth. and my supports just popped right off, which was great. I love it. It's so satisfying when the supports just come off like that and you don't have to fight with it or get pliers or something. But it turned out really well. I kind of wished that I would have printed this in PETG to replace the tool head cover for my friend. But anyway, I know he's probably going to watch this. So if he's like, man, that's cool, I can totally send him the link to the file and he can print one for himself. But that's it, guys. I greatly appreciate you watching this video, and this is my first one. Gonna make some more, but like and subscribe, and I'll read the comments down below. Just please be kind. But thanks for watching, and this is Just a Few Printers Farm.